State your point.
I'm standing in line waiting to speak. I see Mr. Whitehouse aiming his camera at me. I find that intimidating. Would everyone who finds Mr. Whitehouse's camera intimidating or upsetting stand up?
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're not standing to speak, please sit. This has become an issue. It is a very difficult issue to have to deal with because, as we learned in the Springtown meeting, that as long as a person is not being disruptive or obnoxious or getting into the face of people, that they should be allowed to have cameras. I have spoken with many other communities to ask how they handle this. In no other community is this a problem.
Perhaps they don't
excuse me, we are not going to get out of hand here. No, I'm not through speaking. Mr. Deacus? No, Mr. Deacus, warning. We are not going to go this route. I am determining that Mr. Whitehouse's taking of pictures is intimidating and disruptive to this meeting, and therefore I am asking him not to take photos. That is my ruling.
Point of information. Point of information.
Who's rising to a point?
I am.
State your point. Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. Point of information, this is not an open public meeting. This is a deliberate legislative body. We do not need to allow cameras in here. We do not need to allow to have this aired on television. It does not need to be televised. So therefore, I think that if the members of this body choose to vote to not allow still photography in here, I think that they can do that. And I think that we are well within our rights of our town meeting to decide whether we want still photography or that. So moved. There you go. So I will make that as a motion, as procedure for this body, that there are no still photography allowed. This is not a legal question. This is a procedural question, Mrs. Smith, and I am asking for procedurally.
We're getting into First Amendment.
By anyone. No.
Mrs. Ekstrom, please let me answer. As I said, over the last 2 months, I have put this question, I have a picture in the back. Let's not make matters any worse. I will not hesitate to have the officer remove anyone that is being disruptive. And if you're intentionally being disruptive, test me. I will ask the officer to remove you. We're not going to play these games. Now, I have spent the last 2 months asking opinion from other moderators in other communities. They don't have any issue with people taking cameras. And although, as Mrs. Ekstrom states, that this is a deliberative body, you have to expect that if you come to a public meeting, that you are to be seen. Now, let's not make this an issue that does not need to be an issue. I have asked Mr. Whitehouse not to take pictures, not to be disruptive, and if he continues, he will be removed, as will anyone else. This has become something that doesn't need to become any bigger than what it is. Now let's all be adults. I will again remind you, I have spoken to Mr. Whitehouse. I find him to be intrusive. I find him to be upsetting the meeting. I have asked him not to take pictures, and if he does, I will have the officer remove him. As will I have the officer remove anyone else.
Madam Moderator, immediately after Mr. Whitehouse left that seat, he walked past me and said, I took several pictures. Those pictures were taken after you asked him not to take any more pictures. And he made an issue of pointing out that he had taken the pictures.
Madam Chair, point of order.
State your point.
Point of order. No, if there's no pictures allowed in the auditorium, that will include the press. Correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Point of order.
State your point.
There is a motion on the floor.
Thank you.
There is no motion. This is my meeting. I stated my ruling.
Oh, I challenge.
Well, you can
your
challenge all you want. I am the moderator.
Madam
Under
Moderator,
state law, this is my meeting.
I challenged your ruling and I put it to the body to vote.
Sorry.
Ma'am, it's
Mr.
not debatable.
Sabato, this is my meeting. I will move you out of order. Please sit down.
I'm standing to speak on another matter.
Okay.
I'm not sitting down.
Now, woman to my left, are you ready to speak to the article?
Yes, I have a question for Michael LaCava. How much the current house that is about to go on the market will sell for?
Point of order, Madam Moderator. I'd like to remind the moderator, this is not the moderator's meeting, it's a meeting of the body.
Please sit down. Your point is taken. Please sit down.
I wanted to ask Michael LaCava how much the house that is currently going on the market, that was partially funded with CPA funds, is going to go on the market for, and ask him to remind us how much CPA contributed towards that house.
To
That's
answer the
one question.
To answer the question, Madam Moderator, the house will be listed at 80% of the affordable housing, which will be 207.
Thank you.
Okay?
And how much did CPA give you towards
Well,
that house?
CPA had approved, this town body approved for $50,000 last spring, and we have actually only going to accept 45 because we didn't need to use all the funds, and we're putting $5,000 back to CPA.
Okay, thank you. And then I just wanted to ask, how much money is currently total in the CPA fund for affordable housing, and how much that is expected to increase on an annual basis? I know they can't say exact, but what their average is that they have an increase each year in revenue coming into the CPA Affordable Housing Fund. Thank you.
Mr. Casella?